taking time for your health. The African American Wellness Watch. Trusted information for us, by us. Dr. Mike Lenore and other experts from around the country and around the world have the latest on how you and your family can get healthy and stay well. It's time for the African American Wellness Watch. Welcome to a special edition of the Wellness Watch. I'm your moderator, George Strait. We're going to spend the next few minutes talking about a disease that frankly doesn't get enough attention, kidney disease. It affects about 1 in 3 Americans, and if you're Black, you're more than 3 times as likely as whites to have it. But before we get to our guests, a quick reminder of what your kidneys are and what they do.
Your kidneys are vital to your overall health. Yet you may not know what these bean-shaped organs do for you. Did you know your kidneys can filter all of your blood up to 25 times a day? For an adult, that's around 37 gallons. Your kidneys also make urine and remove waste and extra fluid from your body. They balance water, salts, and minerals. They also produce the hormone that makes red blood cells. By keeping this balance, your nerves, muscles, bones, and other tissues work properly. If your kidneys are struggling, they will work harder to keep up. You could lose up to 60% of your kidney function before you notice any problems. That's why it's important to start taking steps to keep your kidneys healthy today.
To discuss what happens when things go wrong with our kidneys and ways to care for them, we're honored to have Dr. Griffin Rogers, the director of the National Institutes of Diabetes and Digestive and Kidney Diseases, the NIDDK. Dr. Rogers, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me on the program.
Dr. Rogers has led the NIDDK for 17 years and is one of only 2 African Americans to lead one of the 27 institutes and centers at the NIH. Again, it's an honor for us to have you on our program. Of course, the pilot of this program is the president of the African American Wellness Project, Dr. Mike Lenore. Mike?
All right, thank you, Dr. Rogers, for joining us today. You know, kidney disease is a very complex situation. Can you talk to us about the risk of developing kidney disease?
Sure. Well, you may be at a higher risk for kidney disease if you have high blood pressure or diabetes or heart disease or a family history of kidney disease. Of course, in this country, diabetes is the leading cause of kidney disease, and high blood pressure is the second leading cause. Your kidney risk also increases as you age. So the longer you've had diabetes or high blood pressure or heart disease, the more likely you're likely to have concurrent kidney disease. And then another risk factor are certain racial and ethnic groups. African Americans, Hispanics, American Indians have a greater risk for kidney disease, which is largely due to their risk of diabetes and high blood pressure. Although in African Americans specifically, there's a particular kind of gene that's been discovered that if one has one or other variant of this gene, this poses a much greater risk of kidney disease and actually explains almost to a great extent that 3-fold increased risk of kidney disease that was mentioned in the introduction.
Are there any subtle clinical presentations that would alert you to the fact that you either have kidney disease or developing it?
Well, you know, it's interesting. Kidney disease is one of those conditions to be considered a silent disease. You often have no symptoms early on. In fact, as many as 90% of people who have kidney disease don't know that they have it. If you're over 60 and you have the risk factors that we discussed, though, you should ask your doctor or a community health center to be tested because that's the only way to truly know whether you have it and therefore avoid the risk of the disease progressing. Of course, kidney disease can worsen over time and can lead to other health problems like heart disease, which can increase your risk of a stroke or a heart attack. So knowing that you have kidney disease is vitally important. And so you should work with your healthcare provider, particularly if you have one or more of those risk factors that we talked about before.
You know, what's interesting about the testing is that it was kidney disease that kind of triggered a whole discussion on element of race and research and testing. Can you talk to us a little bit about that controversy that has developed over the last few years?
Sure.
With kidney testing.
Absolutely. But first, let me just mention that the kidney testing is quite simple. There are two tests involved. One is a urine test that determines how well the kidney is filtering out the waste products that we see and keeping in products that there should be present. The second thing, though, is a simple blood test, and this blood test again measures how well the kidneys are filtering waste products. The particular test is called a creatinine, and based upon some assumptions that African Americans largely had a greater body mass, this number was a calculated or estimated value, which led to the belief that the kidney functioned in a much better way than it really did based upon these estimates in African Americans. And this led to unfortunate consequence of when the kidneys did fail, this put patients, African American patients in general, at a lower ranking in terms of the kidney transplant list. Subsequently, this has been modified and guidelines have been changed, and so, but that is where really the essence of that controversy.
Well, when the kidneys start to fail, obviously it's very difficult to reverse that. And so then you start to think about what can I do for that patient whose kidneys are completely failed.
Mhm.
Over a period of many, many years, African Americans have really not gotten the treatments that were available for other people, especially transplantation. There are two elements to that. One element is the fact that we don't often, we're not as likely to allow our kidneys to be used in transplantation. And secondly, we don't get the transplants.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And in fact, the transplants, and we talked a little bit about that, was some of the reasons for that. On the other hand, one can have either a transplant from someone who is deceased, so-called cadaveric transplants. Alternatively, one can get a transplant from a living donor. And if you think about it, you can donate your kidney because we have two of them, and it's only when half of the kidney that's remaining becomes damaged or is not functioning that one begins to see signs of kidney disease. So providing a kidney as a transplant to a loved one, a family member, etc., is certainly a possibility, but at least we're not seeing a big inflection point in people willing to donate kidneys. Of course, for the cadaveric or a kidney from a deceased person, one typically gets on a waiting list, and depending upon how severe your kidney disease is, that puts you at a particular point in the waiting list for a kidney transplant.
Going coincidentally with this discussion, a friend of both Dr. Lenore's and mine just got a directed kidney transplant, and he's over 80, and he got it from his niece. But to both of your points, I don't know that African Americans sort of in general are aware of what's possible. Not only in transplants, but also, talk a little bit about dialysis and some of the other treatments for kidney disease that don't involve transplants.
Sure. Well, if one has end-stage kidney disease, and that is the kidneys aren't working at all, then there are really two options. One generally is a transplant that we spoke about. The second option is dialysis, and that can come in at least two forms. There is hemodialysis, is what we typically think about, going to a center, being connected to a machine for several hours, 3 times a week. Alternatively, there is home dialysis, and rather than putting in needles into the veins to filter the blood and then return it, one can do what's called peritoneal dialysis or home peritoneal dialysis. And again, that's a type of dialysis that can be done at home, but in general, African American patients are a little bit reticent with following that option.
One of the other questions, we've been messaging for many years about the problems that kidney disease poses for the African American community. Yet we still are not getting the kinds of donations of kidneys, and even we're not getting interventions early on with people with kidney disease. Where have we gone wrong in our messaging?
Well, I think, again, certainly being aware of the fact that you have chronic kidney disease is so important. In fact, most people with chronic kidney disease don't, in fact, progress to end-stage kidney disease where they require either dialysis or transplant. They often die from something else, like heart disease or stroke or some other illness. So, for this point, the sooner you know that you have kidney disease, the better, because then you can take steps to protect your kidneys from progressing and hopefully prevent heart disease and improve your overall health. How can you do that? Well, if you have diabetes or high blood pressure, work with your doctor to manage the blood pressure and your high blood pressure. Being physically active, getting at least 30 minutes of exercise each day, walking is certainly something that can be done. It doesn't cost any funds. And you can break up that 30 minutes into 3 10-minute intervals if that works for you. Getting 7 or 8 hours of sleep each night, quitting smoking and limiting your alcohol intake.
We talked about an awful lot of issues within this last 10 or 15 minutes. And I know that there's a lot more information available, not only on our website, but also the website of the NIDDK. So, Dr. Rogers, tell us about what your institute can provide to folks who want to know more.
Sure, absolutely. Well, NIDDK has 2 sets of material that are free for anyone to use to spread the awareness about kidney health that can be downloaded free of charge from our website, niddk.nih.gov. The first is Kidney Sundays Toolkits, and this can help ministry leaders or anyone interested in bringing health programs to their congregation. The second thing is our Family Reunion Kidney Healthcare Guide. This is a resource that actually makes it quite clear that kidney disease runs in families. And so this provides an opportunity during family reunions, such as frequently occur during the summer, to start a conversation about kidney health, and so that younger members of the family can learn about conditions that run in the family. Again, these materials are free to download. They can visit our website at niddk.nih.gov, or they can follow us on social media at niddk.gov to keep updates of research activities such as this and other news that they can use.
Dr. Rogers, thank you. Dr. Lenora, close us out.
Well, Dr. Rogers, thank you so much for joining us. And thank you so much for many years on the wall in defense of good kidney care. And we appreciate your taking the time to join us here today. Most of all, we'd like to thank those of you who have joined to listen to our program and hope you spread the word about kidney disease. And always remember that health is your biggest asset, so protect it.